Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today we are going to be taking a look at a few news stories, the first concerning AM4 and Raven Ridge motherboards that have just recently got some updates. We've also got Intel CPUs which are now outselling AMD Ryzen for the first time in quite a few months from way back in early 2017 when Ryzen was released. Also, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will be getting an update very soon for their anti-cheat protection, which will actually affect some programs that some of you may be running out there. And lastly, Rainbow Six Siege is going to be having a free weekend coming up. But before we get fired into the news, first I want to let you guys know that today's video is being brought to you by the Joker Productions Spreadshirt Shop. So if you want to go over there and pick yourself up a shirt or a mug where you can make AMD great again, or get the new JP Circuit logo design on a t-shirt and color of your choice, or even a coffee mug, hit up that link down in the description below. And I will also have timestamps for all of today's stories that we are going to be covering. But as I said, the first news story is going to be concerning AM4 motherboards, which, as you guys probably know, Raven Ridge is meant to be coming out next week on the 12th, and you can expect videos and reviews going up on that as soon as it releases here on the channel, so make sure that you are subscribed for that content. But it looks like MSI has started to push out their BIOS updates for their existing AM4 motherboards, so I wanted to make sure that anyone out there that is planning to pick up a Raven Ridge APU, this is going to be your first Ryzen system, and maybe you already picked up an AM4 motherboard, or you're looking to pick up an AM4 motherboard in the next week or two, make sure you do go ahead and update your BIOS so that you're on the latest Agesa standard, so that you've got the best memory compatibility for that motherboard. These are one of these important BIOS updates. It's not just like some BS BIOS update that you're not going to want to have. You definitely are going to want to have this so that you can get the most out of your memory. Some of the other patches that they mentioned in here is that they've improved PCIe device compatibility as well as memory compatibility and the Agesa code, as I previously had mentioned. I just got an update for my Asus AM4 motherboard so that I had it all ready to go for Raven Ridge testing, which I'll be doing throughout next week. So, like I said, if you've got an AM4 motherboard already for Raven Ridge, make sure that you are on the latest update for that. And even for just Ryzen users in general, it's always a good idea to get these updates, especially since they are continuously making these updates for memory compatibility and getting the best stable speeds, as at launch they didn't really have the best track record when it came to memory speeds. Some motherboards and RAM would have better compatibility than others, and some wouldn't be able to overclock to their default XMP. But that has gotten so much better since Ryzen launched last April, and the reason for that is these BIOS updates that they have continued to roll out since last year. Next up, we've got Intel CPUs, which are now outselling AMD Ryzen, and this has just come about in December and January, whereas before they were actually getting beat by Ryzen quite a bit, and the big reason for that is the Coffee Lake CPUs. If we look over here on WCCF Tech, we can see the CPUs sold per month, and this is courtesy of Mindfactory.d, who have posted up some sales numbers on AMD and Intel CPUs. So if we look at these months here, you can see AMD here on the left and Intel on the right for any of the given months. So looking at like August, you can see AMD is outselling Intel. If we look at September, same story, AMD outselling Intel, and their most popular CPU by far had been the Ryzen 1600, which is shown by the light green color here. So you can see that's Ryzen 1600, and Intel's best competing CPU during that time was the 7700K, but AMD had been outselling them quite a bit throughout 2017, so we could see that continuing along here all the way up until November, where they had their best sales month in 2017. But then once we get to December, that flip-flops here. As you can see, the 8700K, represented by light blue, has made up Intel's biggest share of their sales, while Ryzen 1600 is still going strong from AMD, but Intel had actually taken them over. And this is something that I had observed throughout 2017. I usually look at the Amazon sales figures and their best-selling CPUs, which is actually updated hourly. So looking over on Amazon.com, we can see that the story here is the exact same as this German retailer, Mindfactory.de. And you can see the 8700K is right now the best-selling CPU on Amazon. For Intel, AMD, what have you, it's the best-selling CPU. The best-selling Ryzen CPU is in third place behind the 7700K and the Coffee Lake 8700K, and that is Ryzen 1600. So pretty much the same case as what we were seeing on that German retailer. Now, let me know down in the comments below why you think this is. Personally, I think that it is because of the fact that Coffee Lake was a really big upgrade compared to previous generations. For so many years, since like Sandy Bridge, we had just been looking at the same quad-core i7 upgrades every year, maybe like 2 to 3% performance improvement on an IPC, possibly some higher clock speeds, which had started to get up to around 5 gigahertz on Kaby Lake. So once Coffee Lake came out last year, and we saw them actually pushing out 6 cores and 12 threads, that was the first really big upgrade for the Intel family of CPUs since going all the way back to Sandy Bridge, the 2000 series. So we're talking about 6 generations there. It took them to get up to 6-core hexacore CPUs with 12 threads. And not only that, they were still able to maintain the high clock speeds that we saw on Kaby Lake, with many people's CPUs being able to overclock for up to anywhere between 4.8 and 5.1 gigahertz fairly regularly. So that was a really big reason for a lot of gamers to go out and pick those up, because they are, simply put, faster than Ryzen. Now, depending on the graphics card you're running and the games that you're playing, that could have varying different results for you. I mean, you could be playing on a Ryzen 1600 and getting perfectly smooth performance on something like a 1060, RX 580, even a 1070. But when you start to get into the really high enthusiast end, you're looking at like 1080s and 1080 Ti's, Vega 64, and you're trying to push out as many frames as possible, AMD does fall short of the Intel CPUs because they just don't have the clock speed to be able to push out all of those frames that the graphics processor is running. So that's one of the reasons that enthusiasts are probably going out and picking up 8700Ks. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because I still think Ryzen 1600 at least is probably one of the best bang for the buck CPUs that you can currently get. And really the difference you're looking at there is maybe you might get 120 frames on Ryzen 1600 and you might get 140 on 8700K in a game that is really pushing out a lot of frames and requiring the CPU to just keep up with the GPU. So for most people that is probably not much of a concern, but for the enthusiasts that are just trying to get maybe 144 Hz, maybe even 240 Hz, that could be important to some of you out there. So let me know, are you going to pick up an 8700K now, or are you still running Ryzen and happy with it? Let's discuss that down in the comments below. Next up, we have PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, who actually has a big update coming for their anti-cheat system, which is going to be huge because they've banned something like 1 million players in the last month for cheating. So there is a lot of hackers on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but the thing that might actually affect your experience with this update is that it is going to be blocking the use of Reshade, which is a post-processing filter which you can easily download. Looking over on the compatibility list, there pretty much is almost no titles that it doesn't work with. You can pretty much put this on any game and you can kind of adjust the way that your games look as far as saturation and contrast and things along those lines. I have used something similar to this in the past, although it's been quite a while, but you've been able to use this on Battlegrounds up until now, but this new anti-cheat measure will block you from using Reshade and playing PUBG with it. Now, they have said in their statement that they are not going to be banning players for using Reshade, so you don't have to worry about that if you accidentally still have it installed, but the anti-cheat measure should stop you from being able to play the game. So if you do want to play it, you have to completely uninstall Reshade, and then you'll be able to play PUBG as you were before. And another thing of note that may affect a lot more of you out there is that they have said it could cause some issues with programs like NVIDIA Shadowplay for recording and streaming gameplay. So if you are a content creator who relies on Shadowplay to record PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or for using it for streaming, then they may have some issues with that initially after this new anti-cheat system rolls out. So if you start having any issues, that could be the culprit there. They have said that they will be working on this and getting updates out as soon as possible for, so Shadowplay can work again. It's not their intention to block people from using Shadowplay or other recording software, but they just said with the new anti-cheat system that this could cause some unforeseen consequences right initially when it rolls out, but they will be working on it to get it fixed and working, as many people I'm sure would, because this is one of the most streamed games over on Twitch as well as YouTube. Last up, we've got Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Just a quick mention on this, that they are going to be having a free weekend upcoming from February 15th until February 18th. So if you haven't picked up Rainbow Six Siege yet and you've been curious to try it, this would be a good chance for you to go ahead and download it over on Uplay. I've actually been playing Rainbow Six Siege since it came out, and they've put out so many updates to this game to improve the hit detection and frequency and everything like that, the tick rate frequency, I should say. And the game has just gotten so much more, just so much better and more polished over time, and that's the reason for like the last year and a half, it's been my go-to first-person shooter. This is my favorite game currently on the PC. When I want to just drop in for a quick multiplayer match of something, it's undoubtedly going to be Rainbow Six Siege or possibly PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Although I prefer to play PUBG with friends, Rainbow Six Siege, I have no issues just dropping into a match and wrecking everyone. I am platinum rated on that, so I'm just absolutely owning stuff in Rainbow Six Siege on ranked. Absolutely love the game, as I said. Fantastic first-person shooter. It's probably one of the best shooters I've played since like Bad Company 2, and it reminds me a lot of Bad Company 2 in regards to the level of destruction you can implement and kind of change the course of the match just by, you know, taking down a wall or something. You could totally take away someone's hiding space or find new ways to breach and enter into rooms and buildings. So no match on Rainbow Six Siege is ever the same as the previous match or the ones that came before it. Every match just seems to be different, and it's because of how the other players on the other team are setting up their defenses, as well as the players on your team are choosing to attack and if they're cooperating with you or not, and just the way you play kind of evolves over time. So you play, did you see that? I just said the way you play when it's you play that has Rainbow Six. So yeah, as I said, really one of my favorite games right now on the PC. If you haven't had a chance to try it out, download it for the free weekend, see if you like it. If you hate it, uninstall it, don't buy it. If you do like it, maybe consider picking it up, and I might even see you in a match. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. Please let me know your thoughts, as always, on all of the topics down in the comments below. I always look forward to that discussion and interacting with everyone down there. And if you enjoyed this video or found it informative in any way, don't forget to leave a like on it down below and subscribe if you're not already. And just to mention that all of these videos that I'm doing now are being uploaded over on DTube at the same time as that I'm uploading to YouTube. So if you want to go check out that platform, you can go ahead and do that as well. But I'm going to get out of here, and I will catch you guys for the next video. Turn.